So today I'm with Rocio. Rocio is Mig's aunt. You are Carmen's sister, and you wanted to talk today to share a little bit of Mig's upbringing. Where would you like to start?
I would like to start to say that it's hard seeing him in the position that he's in, especially after knowing that he's out there being judged or criticized, and knowing that there's someone other than the person that they see. And I wish people would have known that person that I know. He's a very loving and caring person. He's he's a very smart person, a very very smart person, and he lost himself. He lost himself, following the wrong footsteps, looking for that attention that he felt that was missing. And yes, it does hurt to see him, and it hurts a lot to hear, a lot of people just judge him or see the comments, because he's not only being judged, on the channel, he's being judged everywhere. And I have talked to him and I have explained to him that there's a better life out there, and I'm here for him, and my daughter's here for him. And the reason why I found him was because my daughter's seen your channel, and she told me, Mom, I seen Miggy, I want to go look for him and bring him and get him. I'll go. And I seen the video and I seen the comments, and I told her, let's go look for him. And I found him. It's hard to see your own family lose themselves and know that they want the help, but they're so afraid of asking for it because they feel like they're a burden for people, because people make sure that they feel that way. Because if you're going to give help to someone, you have to, I'm going to help you, but you have to do as I say. And they don't understand that it takes a lot of love, a lot of patience, a lot of understanding, that it's not something that you just wake up and say it's gone. It's not going to be easy. And I'm not going to lie to myself and say, oh, he's going to wake up and never touch this again. Or if he does, I'm going to throw him out. No, I have to understand, but he needs to understand as well that just like I'm understanding him, he needs to put work to stop it. But he was a straight A student. Miggy had to be the top of the school, not the top of the class in grades. He would come home devastated if there was someone with a better grade than him. He would get home, study and study and study, and ask to be retested because he wanted his grade to be the highest of the whole school. Miggy was well grounded. He had so many plans in life. You can sit down and have a conversation with him and know that he was heading somewhere positive in life. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to get the right attention from the people that he needed. And he needed a lot of love. A lot of love. And most of his life he was always judged to being less. He was the black sheep. He was always put down. Instead of, Mom, I got a good grade, or Dad, look, I did this, are you proud of me? It was like he didn't get home and gave them good news. They just shook it off like nothing. He has uncles that we all love him a lot, and it hurts to see him the way that he is. Sometimes some of us have, the habit of pushing people away without realizing that pushing them away because of the path they chose it's only hurting them more, pushing them more to destroy themselves, feeling that that's the only choice they have. And all these comments that are being said, that they don't realize that it gets to them. It gets to them because when you're in a situation like that, you might feel the need to get high, but once you're high, you feel the remorse of saying, I failed again. And you turn around and walk away from the people that could be helping you. Because that's what people make sure they put in your head. A lot of you guys could not understand what an amazing person he is. Because he is. He will give even a complete stranger the last dollar that he would have if he knows that the other stranger hasn't ate. Even if he hasn't ate all week and he was finally going to eat, and that was the money that was going to feed him, if he sees someone else hungry, he will give that someone else their money. It's not the first time I brought him in my house. And I can tell you, he's been in this position, and not once has he ever stolen from me. Not once. He has never stolen anything from me. Even if he wanted to go get high. I know who I have in my house. They're young. They're really young. And I know that he has potential, and I'm not gonna let him lose himself more, because I know that he can beat this, and he can become someone big in life. He can. Because he's smart. He's very smart. And he's capable of doing so many great things.
You raised them from a young age. How did that happen? What was Carmen?
Carmen had Juan. She had Juan. I remember I was 13 years old, and Juan was going to be 1. And I'm never going to forget this. I remember she got home from the hospital, and she grabbed him, and she gave him to me. Here's your son. And I looked at her that way. They always favored Juan. Juan was the baby. Miggy was like left to us. I was 13 years old, and I would take care of him. He was mainly raised with us. I would take care of him, and at a young age, I left home. And he stayed with my mom. But yeah, I remember that when I was off school, he was home with us. Carmen lived with us, and as soon as I got home, it was like he was mine. He was mine, and I took care of him, and I would sleep with him in the night, straight from the hospital. And he would get sick, and I had him, and I remember my grandma told me, put vapor up on him. And I would put vapor up on him, really tiny. I think that's why I have this love for him, and it hurts a lot to see him that way, because I see him as one of my own. And he grew up with my brother as a brother. He was more as our brother, or I see him as my kid, because ever since he was a little kid, life put us all in a position where we were forced to just be there for each other. I had Carmen living with me and her kids. They grew up in my house. I got married, and they were always at my house, and I was always chasing after them. For that short period of time when I got married at a really young age, that my mom took care of them, I was gone maybe 3-4 years. But my mom passes away, she was the one raising him. She passes away, and that's when Carmen steps up and actually has a relationship of mother and son with them. But it's not as close. You can see the difference of that.
At what age did that happen? How old was he?
Miggy was my mom died in 2003. He was like 5 or 6 years old. 5 years. He would live with Carmen when he started kindergarten, but once the weekend would come, my mom picked him up. So it was like my mom worked, we went to school, or I was already, living on my own. So Carmen had him during the week. But as soon as it was Thursday or Friday, my mom didn't work Fridays, so she would pick him up Thursdays, leave him in school. We already knew the routine. It was like, you're going to go to daycare during these days, and my mom had him. So there wasn't like, oh, can I borrow Mickey? He's like, no, I'm here to pick him up. Like if it was her son. He really didn't have that. I feel like he never had that love or felt that love from his mom because he didn't have that connection with her. Because she does love her kids, but you can see that there was a difference, and he felt that void. He felt it, and even though my siblings and I would try to fill it in, you can tell that no one can fill that in. Unfortunately, when my mom died, Carmen headed the wrong path, and everything just fell apart. And I feel that him trying to reach out for that love from her took him to the wrong path. It did, and it's not an excuse, but you don't know. Everybody handles their pain differently, and maybe because I seen what his life was as a little kid, I can understand it. But Miggy has a lot of pain inside that no one can understand. And even though I seen him and I know what he's been through, I still can't understand what he might be feeling. I just know that he has a lot of pain. We've opened up. We've all made mistakes in our life, but it's how you face them. And he's never had that guidance of saying, do right, do better, or picture this. Why? Because his parents got a divorce. And sometimes parents, when they get a divorce, they have their own way. And they lose that relationship with their kid. And he was looking for that. Because the only relationship he had was gone, which was my mom or us. We were busy living our lives. And I feel like he felt lost and alone. And that's something that no one will understand. Knowing that you have someone to be there, but even though you look for them, they're not. I don't know if you understand, like, if I'm explaining myself, like, knowing that you have a lot of people, or you see other people having it, and you look for it, but it's not there.
You mentioned that he asked you when he was younger, he said, what do I got to do to get my mom to love me? How old was he when he said that?
He was 17, and I remember he was really handsome, and I would look at him, I go, Mickey, when you grow up, you're gonna be so handsome. I had just moved back from New Mexico, and there was an issue with Carmen, and then I got raided, and Mickey would go stay at my house. He's always known my house, like he could come to my house. And I got raided, and the officer thought I was Carmen. I'm like, I'm not Carmen. That's my sister. And he goes, really, Carmen? I'm like, I'm not Carmen. He goes, can I see your ID? I go, yeah. So I gave it to him. They ran it, and he goes, do you know where your sister's at? After he found out I was in Carmen. I go, I don't know where she's at. And I go, but her son's right here. And he's like, do you know where your mom's at? He goes, no, I haven't seen my mom. And he goes, you really haven't? She goes, no. And he turned around and he hugged me, and he started crying. He goes, Mom. He goes, Tia, you think it doesn't hurt me to know that I don't know where my mom's at? He said, what do I have to do so my mom can give me attention? Do I have to go? She goes, you think it doesn't hurt me to see how she gives Gordo attention? What do I have to do? Do I have to go and smoke so she can give me attention? And I told him, no, you don't. You don't have to do that. And he started crying, and I hugged him, and I told him that I loved him. And that was the last time I seen him. Like, I seen that grounded kid that was looking forward to a future, that had plans. And we would see him all the time. And all of a sudden, a month later, I seen him, and this is what I see. And it hurt to see what happened. And my brother, he grew up with them, and it angers him to see that someone with such a potential, with such, a great state of mind, would be lost that way. And it hurts us because we feel like we could have done more. We could have avoided it, but sometimes we got to focus on other things. We have kids. And like I said, even though we try to fill that void, that he went looking for it. And unfortunately, it took him to the wrong path.
You think he's trying to numb a void, numb a hurt, a pain that he's felt his entire life, the lack of nurturing, the lack of love?
I do. I really do. I feel that he numbs himself, or he tries to forget or keep his mind thinking of other things, or focus on being high instead of focusing on the pain that he has. I feel that way, that his reality hurts him that much that he tries not to feel it because he's felt it for so long. I do. I feel, but at the end I see him, and I see that when he is high, it angers him, and he feels remorse, and he feels guilt, and he wants out of it. But once he's out of it, he starts thinking of all those things, and he'd rather feel that high. So he doesn't win. He doesn't, and there's nothing we can do, even though everybody has an opinion or has a plan for him. You don't know what it is to be there.
You mentioned Gordo. That's Juan. That's what they would call Juan when he was younger, right? So looks like the attention, the love went to Juan, but Juan's out there. Juan hasn't been doing the best, right? He's been involved in substances and getting locked up, and so why do you think Migs and Juan and so Juan didn't receive it, and he's battling addiction, and Juan did receive the love, and he's had his issues. What do you think it is at the end of the day? Like, what happened?
What happened was that Juan would do something, and they justified it. If he went the wrong path, when Juan started growing up, he was like, I'm tough, I'm this. And they justified him. They, well, he needs to learn from his mistakes. I go, you don't learn from your mistakes unless you give them consequences. And he never had them. He was always, he was a golden child. Juan was a golden child that they looked the other way if he made a mistake, or they shook it off. And Gordo started trying to prove himself as being tough, being a gangster, being all this. He's a good person, don't get me wrong, but he saw life more as trying to fit in the thug life than focusing on school or doing better for himself. He never liked school. He's always said it. But instead of Carmen guiding him, she just let him, because he was going to learn from his mistakes. And she didn't understand that you don't learn from your mistakes unless there's consequences to them. What you're doing is you're allowing your kid to believe that it's okay to keep doing wrong. If you're not getting any consequences, it's okay. You can do whatever you want. And unfortunately, I seen the video of Juan in the other day, and it seems like everybody's like, "Whoa, Miggy's worse." No, Miggy looked up to Juan. Juan started doing drugs way before him. Juan was he was the example. But Juan got to a point where he wanted to start a family. He wanted to do better. He had his kid. But once you start using drugs, it's easy for you to relapse. And yeah, he was clean, but he relapsed. And that's when I guess you found him in the streets. That's when he was barely relapsing. But to me, it was more like, I want to be like my brother. It was, and I know Juan is hurting too. He is, and I love them both a lot. I do. They're my nephews. It's just their stories are so different. One was because he didn't have discipline, and the other one was because he didn't have the support. So
Wow.
It's two complete, stories. That because Juan was daddy's boy, mommy's boy, and we wanted to feel a little bit of what Juan was getting. And maybe he said, maybe if I'm like him, I'm gonna have what he has. So I try to understand it, but they won't talk about it. They won't. And I just see a lot of pain in them.
You opened up your home to Miggs, and that's very nice of you, very sweet. You've done in the past to try to help because you love him you see him as a son, as somebody that you're 13 and you're helping raise him basically, right, at a young age. So you look at him as a son, as a valued member of your family. And that's again very nice of you to open up your home, because not a lot of people, lots of family wouldn't do that, right? Because of fear of being taken advantage of, the fear of bringing in bad stuff into the home. You have children of your own,
Yes.
right? You have your own issues, you have your own problems, I'm sure, right?
Yes.
And so you're busy with that, and so here you are trying to help others. Would you offer the same thing to Carmen?
I've done it before. I've done it. I would get up at midnight, 1, 2, in the middle of the night, just because I couldn't sleep, and I was worried, like, where is she? Where can I? And drive around the streets. There's various times. This is not the first time I opened the doors of my house to any of them. I was the one looking for them, and I brought her into my house multiple times, where I found her in the street. And I said, "Come on, let's go." But you can only help so much if they don't want the help. I love Carmen. She's my sister, and I know there's more to her. There is more to her. But she doesn't want the help. I don't know if it's her pride. I don't know what it is. But yeah, I have brought her into my house. The day I got Miggy, the reason I found Miggy was because of your video. My daughter said, "I'm gonna go look for him." Me and my daughter live here. I said, "Let's go." She goes, "Yeah, I'm gonna bring him." So we decided to bring him. I wasn't aware of where he was. And thanks to my daughter, I got in touch, because there's not a day that I don't think about them. And I wonder, what if, are they alive? What if they overdosed and we're not going to get any information? And I've heard from people, "Oh, well, I've seen Miguel." I go, "Where did you see him?" "Oh, well, I seen him in the streets." "Well, where is he?" We don't know. That's all I would hear. But when I seen your video there, you're like, "Well, where do you hang out?" I went through all your videos looking, and I seen the answer. I go, "I know where he's at." So we went, and when I seen him, I go, "Let's go." "No, Tia, I don't want to bother." I'm like, "You're not a bother. If I'm offering you the help, is because it's there. If you bothered me, I wouldn't be offering the help. I'm here because I care, and I want to help you. You're not bothering me." And he didn't want to. And when he seen me, he hugged me. He cried. And I cried and I go, let's go. He's, no, I don't want to go. It was hard for me. I'm not asking you. Let's go. But yeah, I'm like, no, come on. I think he felt that, oh, we're here to pick you up. Where are we going to leave her? It wasn't like that. It's like, you guys are together. The only thing that we were going to create if we forced them to separate is either have him within hours back looking in the streets for her. Or, I mean, they're not bad kids. None of them. They're not.